Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're getting ready to do another countdown video. That's right, we are on episode number 39. It's hard to believe that I've done 39 of these countdowns already this year, and it just tells you how fast the year has gone when you're having fun. So with that being said, let's jump into this week's countdown. We have a total of 13 books altogether. No digital this week. I didn't have time to read any extra books or digital books. These are all hard copy books. So with that being said, let's start with number 13. That's right, everybody. We have Terminator Salvation, the final battle, issue 1 of 12. This is a maxi series written by J. Michael Straczynski. It says, after decades of war, the beginning of the end. That's right, everybody. This book for me, I was kind of hyped up about it because I'm like, oh, dude, I just watched Terminator on TV. I haven't seen it in a long time. And at the same time I watched this, I went on to Comixology. I was like, oh, look, Terminator. And look at this. This looks awesome. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to check it out and see what it's about. Well, let me just say, for new reader friendly, it was confusing. It was kind of all over the place. Not saying that this is going to be a bad series. This is kind of like a setup issue, I think, of what's going to come. There's a whole bunch of plot lines that take place in different timelines. So it takes place in 2003, 2018, 2029, and they have to like explain it to you. And then in the issue, I found myself going back and forth and trying to figure out, okay, who's this person? Who's this character? Oh, okay. What's going on? What year is it? So it's not new reader friendly at all. So I'm hoping by issue number 2, it kind of pulls itself together and you can read it kind of straight through. Just like any Terminator book, though, it opens up with, balls of energy, lightning coming through, and you get your Terminator that's all naked, and he's looking for clothes. You get the good guy, and then you get the bad guy. In this instance, you get 3 bad guys. You get 1 female, 2 males in here, and in the beginning scene, you get 1 female Terminator that's looking for clothes, and specifically, she asks for shoes, and she's like, "Not these shoes." So out of the entire issue, the first probably 4 pages were the best pages for me in the book. Besides that, it was just okay. So I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. I'm going to give it at least to issue maybe 2 or 3 to see if I'm going to continue reading this series. So with that being said, we're going to move on to number 12 on the countdown. And number 12 is Inhumanity, issue number 1. Now, no disrespect to anybody out here. There was nothing. Comics this week weren't bad in any shape, form, or fashion. Okay, all the comics were pretty well written, and everything was pretty good. My top comics were hard to pick, the top picks of the week. In this book, for people, this may be your top pick of the week. But for me, I'm just not invested into this. I don't want to be. I read it. I gave it 2 times. I read it, and I just almost fell asleep both times. I thought the issue was lengthy. I thought the issue was lengthy. I thought it was boring at times. I thought it was slow, and I just didn't find any characters relatable for me. And I know this series continues, and I'm hoping that the Inhuman series, where it has to do, I think, with that 1 character, might be a better series, well-rounded for me. I just didn't like this, guys. I just thought that it was slow. And again, it's just this part of the universe of the Marvel Universe is not intriguing. Don't have much history with Black Bolt. Don't have much history with Medusa and everybody else that was involved. Again, if you like Inhumans, you're going to like this. Matt Fraction's a great writer. He wrote the book really well, but again, just not my cup of tea. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5, just because it's going to be for some people, and it's not going to be for others. So there you have it, guys. So next, moving on, number 11. Green Lantern, issue number 26. This issue for me, Green Lantern's been going down a little bit, and this keeps going on that trend. I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. It was average. There's a battle between Hal Jordan and Kilowog going against uh, the Star Sapphire here. Her name's Noel Ainge, I think her name is. And we find that, you know, they want her arrested for abusing the ring's powers, and she gets all her people. And the reason why she's a Scarlet Sapphire is because, or Star Sapphire, sorry, is because she's got this whole planet behind her. All these people worship her, and she shows great love and compassion towards these people, and that's why she is a Star Sapphire. But for all the murders and crimes that she's committed, and for for abusing the ring's power, Kilowog and Hal Jordan want her arrested. So after this battle, and they find themselves outmanned, Kilowog and Hal Jordan call the entire Green Lantern Corps. The entire Corps. Even Mogo is being called upon. And it's like, really? We've seen so many more threats from the Lanterns than this before. We've seen the Sinestro Corps. We've seen the Wrath of the First Lantern. We've seen the Rise of the Third Army. We've seen Lights Out. We've seen things that I thought were a much more bigger threat than this. This just didn't make sense to me. This was kind of frustrating. Why call everyone here? And, you know, in the end of the issue, you find that the Corps, of course, is going to prevail in this whole situation. And I felt that the Corps was actually kind of evil here, because they used Mogo to rattle the whole planet into forced surrendering. And I was like, whoa, who are the good guys here? So I was just like, whoa, this is kind of weird. And so in the end, she gives up her ring. And by the time we get to it, we find that there was a deal made. All her people get arrested. She gets let go, but with no ring. And then we go into the cliffhanger of what the next story could be about. So, I don't know. I just was like, I've seen worse. The Green Lanterns have gone through a lot worse. And I don't know. And then in the end, they don't arrest the person. Just weird. This book is a little bit off for me right now. And I'm not sure I'm going to be so keen on the next story arc. But I'm giving this one 3 out of 5. It's average. There's good artwork, good battle scenes. I just don't like the approach of where the Corps represents right now, if that makes any sense. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to number 10. Batwing, issue number 26. We had an interruption with Villains Month, so they didn't have a Villains Month issue for Batwing. But they just didn't make an issue. Then we had a 0-year issue, so we got to see that. And now we get to see the continuation of the story. And we get to see Luke Fox, who is deep undercover in Rome, trying to stop this guy who is in control of these diamonds that can talk to each other and has this vibrational control. And he's like the mobster of Rome or whatnot. The issue is very fillerish. Very, very fillerish. Luke Fox tries to go deep undercover trying to impress this girl, but he's Batman's contact, so they wind up working together to stop this this character. And his name is, I'm trying to remember the characters, his name is Caligula, if that makes any sense. So he's forced to do battle in this arena against these crazy mutant-like creatures. He prevails against the first guy, but then he decides that he's going to go out against this this team up with him, which her name is Pippi Gorvani, and stop this mob guy. And with a whole lot of dialogue that wants to tell you this story of what these diamonds represent that they found, that this guy found in this coal mine, was a lot of story to fit in this one filler issue. Like, they overloaded it for you, and you're like, gee whiz. And so in the end, they wind up catching the guy, winds up taking him back into the States so he can get arrested or whatnot. And then now next we get Gothtopia. So, I don't know. Gothtopia looks weird for me. You know, but the main storyline here, I guess, is this was just filler, and now we're going to go through Gothtopia. So there's so many, like, gimmicks and, you know, side stories and tie-ins that's interrupting the flow with this book. Normally the book is phenomenal, and this book was well written too, but I would love to see a normal story continue going on. Let's stop with all the side stuff right now. So this was a 3 out of 5 for me too. Well written, lots of dialogue, tried to fit a lot into an issue. Alright, so with that being said, now we're going to go into number 9. And number 9 is Amazing X-Men, issue number 2. I thought this issue was good. However, it was no better than a 3-star book for me again. Just the fact being that the first issue was so good and the characters were so well written in the first issue, it made you really fall in love with the characters. Like, I love the relationship between Iceman. I love the relationship between Firestar. And then I like seeing how Nightcrawler was involved in the whole thing. But then in this issue, we wind up seeing where our heroes wind up getting transported. And you see Firestar, and you see Storm, and you see Iceman. They're all transported into, like, hell, where the pirate ship was last left off. And you get to see a crazy battle going on. Artwork is so well done in this book, though. Ed McGuinness just does a wonderful job. The characters are so appealing to look at. I love looking at the artwork. And in this issue, the one thing that I loved, though, was seeing Iceman melt the whole time. He's just melting, becoming absolutely nothing. But you see crazy battles going on in the outsides of hell and on the pirate ship, and you get to see some thoughts going between Logan and Professor Xavier about how Xavier's telling Logan not to fall and to stay with it. And what this issue reminded me was a Disney-inspired comic book. That's exactly what this inspired me to. We see battle scenes of on a pirate ship. We see our villain, who looks like a Captain Hook type of character. So I feel like I'm sitting there reading Pirates of the Caribbean. And that's exactly what this issue reminded me of. We see characters like this. And I just wasn't, like, totally invested into the story. I wasn't digging it all the way. I'm sitting there going, okay, cool action, all right. I've read a lot better stories. Battle scenes are okay. Art's real good. But it just wasn't a solid story. We don't really find anything about, going after Nightcrawler or finding Nightcrawler. You see one cool scene with Iceman, again, trying to use his powers when they're just being decimated by the heat. So you saw that interaction. And at the end, you finally get to see one panel of Nightcrawler towards the end, right here. And then the story moves on. Am I going to be not reading this book anymore? No, absolutely not. I thought it was still pretty good. I gave it a 3 out of 5, like I said. I just thought I expected something better out of this one. Not so much fighting on a pirate ship, thinking that I'm watching Pirates of the Caribbean and seeing Johnny Depp in here. That's just exactly what it reminded me of, a Disney-inspired comic book. And, of course, we all know that Marvel and Disney are together, so who knows, maybe it was. But it was an average issue for me at best, so I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. So with that being said, we are at number 8. And number 8 is Trillium, issue number 5. That's right, everybody. At first, when I looked at this book, I sat there and go, okay, well, what is it going to throw? What is it going to throw at me this time? So I look at it and I'm like, okay, what the hell is this? I'm like, first we had issues going backwards to forward, and you flipped it upside down, and then you read the other story. We had that twice, and now we got panels where you're looking up, and then I gotta flip it upside down to read it. I'm like, what's going on? And I sat there and I read it like that for half the issue, and then you know what? I was like, I'm done. I'm not reading this. This is confusing the crap out of me. This has gotten out of hand. So I sat there, put it aside, read something else. I said, I can't go without reading this. This series has been really pretty solid. So I paid attention to it this time, and I looked, and there's the little arrow that tells you to go this way. So I'm like, Oh, so like the stupid ass I am, I sat there and said, okay, so you gotta read the top of the story first. Now, whatever one you want to read, that's up to you. But first, you read William's story, and then you will read what's her name, Kenya. You read her story too, and you get to see that they play the role reversal in the whole thing. So it was quite interesting to see them fit in each other's shoes. Now, does it really progress the story at all? No, I don't think so. It just has you wake up and see what they're experienced again in each other's shoes. So it was quite interesting. Was this the best story that I read this week? No. Was it a little confusing? Yes, absolutely. But it was interesting again to see where these characters fit in each other's shoes. Again, that's the theme I'm commonly using here. They're saying but it's a hard book to describe. You have to kind of read it to understand. But it was quite interesting. Jeff Lemire does a great job trying to make this a very unique book. And you definitely have to read this from issue 1 to get, or somewhat get, what's going on here. How everything plays out in the end, I'm not sure. But definitely, if you haven't read it yet, or if you can't get the back issues, wait for the trade to come out. It's an interesting read. Definitely different, puts a spin on a comic. And I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars, because if you're a new reader, you're not going to get it. For some people, I can see this maybe turning off people, but I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next, we move on, and we go on to number 7. And number 7 is Superior Spider-Man Team Up, issue number 7. Who would have thought 7? Yeah, whatever, that was a plan. Anyway, Superior Spider-Man Team Up, issue number 7. This is the conclusion to the whole Sinister Six thing. Everything has led up to this point. We finally saw what Superior wanted to do with the Sinister Six. He wanted to make an ultimate team and call them the Superior Six. Well, it's all backfired because he controlled every single one of them. And due to Sun Girl's powers, it kind of messed everything up. He doesn't control them anymore. And now it's driven the Superior Six insane, and all they want is actual revenge on Superior Spider-Man. The book here is written by Christopher Yost, and the art is done by Marco Cicchetto, which has great art here, especially in the beginning pages. You get to see Green Goblin and Kraven the Hunter and Dr. Otto Octavius himself, and you get to see in the issue Superior just regretting everything that he did here by controlling all these characters, and he has driven these Superior Six members to go mad to get revenge on him. And I thought that was the best aspect of this actual issue. So you get the Vulture trying to do battle, and you got Electro doing battle, and you got Mysterio and Sandman, and even Sandman, the kindest of them all, sits there and goes, of all the battles that we've done, Spider-Man, of everything that we've been through, I've never thought you would stoop this low to control us like you did. And it was such an interesting issue. And then you get to see them trying to get a hold of this particle beam that's about to destroy the city. And what happens in the end was very interesting, because it's a very simple thing to destroy this particle beam. Again, you get to see more of Sun Girl in this particular issue, due to the reason why she's going to be in the New Warriors coming up, and Christopher Yost is writing that book. So you're going to want to feel invested into the character a little bit. If you're reading this title, you're going to be like, oh, I know who Sun Girl is. So great battle here between Superior and Sandman and all the others. Superior or Sinister Six team members here. This was a story arc from this particular series that you're going to want to read. This was a good one. This was the first few issues of this, and the next one is going to have to do with Namor. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pick that one up, but this one was really good, and I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. I found it very, very interesting. Very great read. So next on the list is number 6. And number 6 is Swamp Thing, issue number 26. Now, in the last issue, we got to see the seer actually become the avatar of the green. And you're left with him, he's like, I did it, I've become the avatar of the green, you know? It's like everything that he's wanted his entire life, he's been infatuated with plants and learning about plants, and he's wanted this power, and he's finally been granted the gift by the parliament. But right away, he wants to impress the green, and he's doing things to stop other avatars, including Buddy Baker. So he gets thrown in this whole thing. And you see a notation in here that it takes place between issues number 19 and 21. But the story does a great job. Great artwork, by the way. Charles Soule is the one who writes this book. He does a great job on Superman and Wonder Woman as well. And I love the way this Swamp Thing is. He's like a thin, lengthy character. Uses his wings. He has a huge wingspan in here. I'll show you, for instance. I love the artwork. Like, look at this. Something you would see out of a movie. Really a fantasy type like creature, and that's what I loved about this particular issue. But you see the whole history in the origin of Jason Woodrow on how he was a student, how he was infatuated with plants, how the Parliament gave him a seed onto alter seeds, and for helping Alec Holland in a desperate time. So this was a really well done issue here on explaining everything about Jason Woodrow. You get to see again Buddy Baker in involvement with a brief battle between Swamp Thing, because he thinks that he can stop him and he can impress the Parliament, or in the other, you know, Parliament of the Green, and it kind of fails. He says, don't mess with me, and he takes off and whatnot, and, you know, it fails completely. So I love that. And again, you go into all this history on how he became infatuated with the green and things like that. And Buddy Baker comes up to be the victor in there. And then at the end of the issue, we get to see how he takes this plant that's destroying this rainforest every day, and he makes it into a jungle again, or into a rainforest, or anything that has to do with the green. And he wants to impress the Parliament, and it's like he's so into it that it's like he's evil, and you can sense it. But the green hasn't picked it up yet. So in the next issue, it just says spoiled. Really great issue. I really loved it, but there was other books better than this, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5. And I loved how Animal Man was thrown in this thing as well. So I like where Swamp Thing is right now, guys. This is really, really good. So with that being said, we're going to move on to top 5. Number 5, Cataclysm, The Ultimate's Last Stand, issue number 2. Love the cover here. Love how Galactus is squeezing Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's just like, and you think that it's like, well, there's no way that's going to happen. He's not going to die. But the beginning of the issue, you got to give Miles some credit here, where credit is due, and he actually goes after Galactus. He's like, I don't have a plan. I don't know what to do. And I think Mark Bagley does a wonderful job at the artwork here, and Brian Michael Bendis does a great job too at the narration of Miles Morales. He's just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't have a plan, but I'm just going to do it. And he just kind of acts on instinct. The whole world around him is just coming to pieces here. You can see that. He's trying to put in this machine so he can start feeding off the energy, so he can start eating the planet. And just as he leaps on, you can see how tiny he is on Galactus. He's like, what am I going to do here? He's like, I don't know what's going on. And later on in the issue, you get to see Thor rescue Miles, and then you get to see all the other characters that are in this actual issue. They're involved, you know, the Ultimates. You get Captain America, you get Hawkeye, Iron Man, Thing, and Sue Storm, Human Torch. You get Jessica Drew in there, and you're trying to find out how to stop Galactus. This has been the thing, because in the last issue, they were overwhelmed. They didn't know what to do. They found out that they found this energy that's on Galactus, and they've come to a conclusion that it's come from a different timeline. The same timeline where Peter Parker's from. So they figured out that much. And then they found out that they have to use Reed Richards. Reed Richards from 616. Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales volunteers to go back to 616 and says, we're going to get Reed Richards. And because the reason why he's volunteering, because there's another Spider-Woman there. There's another Spider-Person. And he volunteers from that. I thought the issue was really good. You get Mysterio that's in the issue as well, trying to give up some information, which was really nice to see. And the person that you least would thought that would team up with Miles to go on this mission is Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, and he is evil in this universe, and but he's a genius. So basically, what's happening is those two are going to go out and going to go ahead and stop Galactus. So very interesting issue here. It's going to leave off with the X-Men at the end. You get to see that. It leaves off in Utopia. Very great, very fantastic issue. Really liked it a lot. This main part of the series, I think so far, is the best out of the Ultimates. You know, Last Stand or Cataclysm or whatever the hell it's called, because there's so many issues. I think this is the best one right now. And I can't wait to see what happens in issue 3. And it has to do with the X-Men. You got Kitty Pryde and you got Colossus in there. So it's got more of that major cast of the X-Men there. So I'm going to give this issue a 4 out of 5 stars as well. Really great stuff here, guys. Should be reading this, I think. So with that being said, we're going to move on to number 4. And number 4 is Earth 2, issue number 18. This is really hard at this point. You have Superman, who is deranged lunatic here. Evil Superman. People that are fans of Superman are going to like this for as evil as he is. People are going to like this if you wanted an evil Superman. People, I think, are going to like this if you like Thomas Wayne as Batman. You're going to like everything here. I think this was a really well-done issue. Fast-paced issue. There's some times where this series just, you know, in the past, just kind of dragged, and the story plot was going on, but this the pacing of this moved quick. And this is called The Dark Ace Part 2, and you get to see Superman is just causing all kinds of havoc here. The Flash is trying to draw his attention. In the last issue, you get to see left off where Batman is in this holding facility to hold all these different people, and they're prisoners, and you're not supposed to let them go. But let's just say that he's there. Batman is there to unleash these people to help him in this whole quest, I would think. And so he's here for 3 people. And basically what happens is Lois tries to stop Batman, and we get to see that here. So she's Red Tornado, right? And great paneling, great stuff. And Thomas is just like super strong, like breaks wrists, and she's just like, "Oh, what happened to you, Bruce?" And it's not Bruce. And next thing we see is he gets shot in the head, and he doesn't get really shot. The first thing he does is he winds up unleashing somebody. You know, like, uh-oh, what's going on? Something's going to happen. And the first person you see is like Aquawoman. I'm like, okay. So I wasn't familiar with her in this universe, in Earth 2. So I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? Who cares? Aqua person. You get to see a battle continue between Flash and Superman. And let's just say that Superman doesn't kill Flash. As the issue goes along, we go back to the basement, which is that holding facility. Superman unleashes looks like the parademons in the issue. And then we get to see the people that are going to be involved in this story moving forward. And this is Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen is in the actual issue, and he's just like this freak that can take in all kinds of information from the internet from everywhere. And it was crazy. So all he has to do is just look at a computer, and it's in his eyeballs, and he sees everything and what's happening. And then the next thing we see is the parademons are being unleashed all over the place. It's just like overwhelming amount of them. Just insane. I was like, damn, that's crazy. And then just as Batman comes, he's like, I have one more thing I have to do. And they're like, oh, you can't do that. And he's like, I was never here to release him. I was here to, boom. And he shoots him. And it's like, oh, damn. He shoots him. It's like you think he was going to release the Joker, but he shoots him? Dude, that was crazy. So then in the next issue, it's Invasion. This was a really great issue. Love seeing the expressions and the facial expressions in this book. The artwork is done so well. Really love this issue. I think this book is heading in a great direction right now. I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really great book, guys. So next we have our top 3. Top 3! Number 3. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 700.1. Hard choice for me this week, guys, to pick a number 1 book. Amazing Spider-Man 700.1. The series is still going on, baby. Ha ha! That's right. I don't give a crap if it's 0.1 issues. The series is not over yet because we still have 4 more of these actual books. This book was written by David Morrell, and the art was done by Klaus Janson. Artwork is pretty cool in this issue. You get to see some classic Spidey stuff here with, you know, characters being stuck on webs. You get to see, you know, classic Spider-Man here rescuing, picking up cars with his webs, watching crime, spinning on his spider webs. Just old classic spider costume. And the most important thing of all in every Spider-Man comic is a Spider-Man origin. We haven't seen that in a while, right? So we have to have that. This issue was really good, okay? It touches on really what Spider-Man really is. He's going to go day and night, no matter how exhausted he is. He's going to go and patrol the city, no matter who's out there, how cold, any shape, fashion, form. He's going to go out there and he's going to patrol the city and stop the bad guys, because that's what he does. Great power comes with great responsibility. Great page here by stopping the trolley car or whatever it was there. And we can see in the issue, though, he's suffering from this cold thing. He's really cold. He's suffering from warmth being taken from him. And I don't know what that represents or what's going to happen. But the biggest thing in this issue was the interaction between the characters that I like. You get to see characters back in here like J. Jonah Jameson looking for that story, looking for the greatest or craziest Spider-Man's story that Peter Parker is after, which I really liked, and of course saying that Spider-Man is a menace, and you get to see that, and then also you get to see a great interaction between Aunt May and Peter Parker, and how much he really loves and cares for his Aunt May, and I really enjoyed that in this story. Shit, she's even wearing her classic, outfit of like pink and her apron there, and that's just Spider-Man books that we've all known and loved for years and years. She's got the white hair, it's in a bun, and they have some great stories here about how what's it called? Oh my God, I'm just drawing a blank right now. How his uncle and how her used to get along together, and it was really, really a touching story, and I love that. And you haven't seen so much of that real in-depth family interaction in Spider-Man, and this book really shows you Peter Parker and who he is and why he cares so much and what he does, why he does what he does. But because of his exhaustion, he sleeps for like days. I mean, it's like day or two. The storm is happening. People are running out of food. No one is out. The stores have been ransacked. And we find out that Aunt May kind of loses her power, and a tree breaks in, and there's little causes of mayhem going on with places being lit up on fire and things like that. And we can see that Peter Parker is going after Aunt May here. He's trying to get a hold of her, can't get a hold of her. We see that she's stranded, and he's like, every day it happens. There's not one day that it doesn't go without him. And he's like, there's no way Peter Parker can go after Aunt May, but Spider-Man can. And he goes out in the snow, and he's going to go after his Aunt May because he cares for her that much. Good for Peter. It was a great issue. Really, again, enjoyed it. Great interactions here. Can't wait to see if the story goes a little bit further. I would love to see the more humorous side of Peter Parker here. Hopefully we will. And I don't know if this is going to be a bunch of single stories in these .1 issues, or if they're going to be like, if it's going to be continues. It says its story continues in Amazing Spider-Man, so I wonder if it has to be with just all about Aunt May. So, but really great book, guys. I know I spent a lot of time on this, but this is the first Peter Parker story I've read in a long time, and I miss the guy. He's a very relatable character to me, and he's the reason why I read comics today. So, great book, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Again, I would have loved to see humor side of Peter, because I really miss that the most out of him. So next, number 2, The Superior Spider-Man, The Darkest Hours, issue number 23. This was a really great issue here. This had a little bit of everything involved in here. Really well-rounded issue. Love the cover. Love Flash Thompson. Love the symbiote being extracted from him here based off of the cover. But in this issue, you get to see Spider-Man opens up doing lots of action against the Venom symbiote. The issue continues. We get to see the Flash escaping. He gets camouflaged away. He wants to hide, and he goes to Peter Parker's house. You get to see a little bit of interaction between the Green Goblin and Carly Cooper in this issue. So you get to see a little bit of that. You get to see a little bit of Anna Maria and interactions between her and Aunt May on impressing the, Aunt May and J. Jonah Sr. And, you get to see Flash Thompson go again to Peter Parker's house, to catch up on old times. And you get to see even Mary Jane in this issue. She reopens her nightclub. So really great supporting cast in this issue. And their stuff is finally moving forward. We can see here in this issue also that I feel that the reason why she has an infatuation for these firemen, especially this guy Pedro, is because she looks at the fire people as true heroes now. No more Spider-Man. He hasn't been there for her. She looks at the true heroes, which is the firemen and the policemen, and she has this thing for Pedro. So, and then you get another interaction between Wannabe and Mary Jane about how Peter's not himself. And by the time we get to the end of the issue, you get to see Aunt May get her leg replaced. Cardiac is involved in the whole operation. And it's taking place at Peter Parker Industries. And you get to see Acclimax. You get to see a little bit of Spider-Man 2099. And there's all kinds of great character interaction. And it wasn't done in a wrong way. It was well done. It wasn't rushed. It felt cohesive. And in the end, we get to see Flash Thompson try to get his legs back. And, he kind of took some, I guess, persuasion on Spider-Man's part, but he wound up getting it done. But in the end, it purged the symbiote off of him, and it wound up jumping onto Superior Spider-Man. So very interesting issue here. Now, the only thing I had that was a little gripe was, Peter Parker leaves the building. He's like, oh, I'm going to get my consultant. And then he winds up getting Spider-Man, and Peter doesn't come back. You never see the two in the same freaking building together. You think people would get it by now, but they don't. So that's why this doesn't get the number one pick of the week for me. But nonetheless, it was a great book. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Best issue of Superior Spider-Man in a while, guys. So finally, the number 1 book of the week is, bam, Green Arrow issue number 26. The Outsiders War. Book number 1, Return to the Island, written by Jeff Lemire, and our artwork is done by Andrea Sorrentino. I give her lots of credit because the artwork fits this book tremendously. Love the cover here. Love to see Ollie here. He's kind of camouflaged. You got the Spear Guy leader, the Spear Clan leader here. This issue is perfect for jumping on point. This is a perfect book for that. This book wraps up everything that has happened a little bit in the past. The only thing that I can say is if you want to go back to issue 20 or 21 and learn about Komodo and what he represents, go ahead and do that. but this book does a really great job at explaining everything that Arrow has been through, the villain that he's fought, and what they have to do now. There's this map. They have to get this specific totem arrow, I think it was called, or whatever the specific arrow was, that's in Shadow's head, which was really interesting. And they got to go back to the island. And the last place that Oliver McQueen wants to go back is to that island. You get to see some great little dialogue that has to go with, do with little Argus about him not having any money and getting this helicopter because they owe him a favor. And then it goes into this great story about how Oliver McQueen once was and how he's became the person he is today. So if you wanted to learn a lot about him, again, this is the issue for that. Artwork, landscape in this issue is beautiful. This is the way the artist portrays the island, and I couldn't agree more. It was beautiful. Artwork was outstanding. In the end of the issue, you find out that they come across this arrow that's in this secret location that Oliver McQueen did not have a clue that it existed. And here it was here. Again, another great two-page spread of your environment that surrounds our characters here. But by the end, we get the spear leader talking to Komodo saying, hey, you need to stand aside. My people are on this, and they're going to stop Shadow and Oliver Queen by night's end. And here you have it right here. Fantastic read, guys. This was a great book. Just an all-around, well-rounded story with a mix of great action, great introduction to a character, just all kinds of wonderful things here. I definitely suggest go read Green Arrow. This is definitely a perfect jumping on point for everybody. And, I'm behind on the show. I've watched the first 8 episodes of the first season of Arrow, and I liked it. I just haven't caught up to the newest season, and I think it's a great show, and I think the comic is just as good as well. So, guys, tell me your thoughts on this book also. So there you have it, guys. There is the countdown for the week. As usual, you've seen the worst. You've seen the best. Leave me your comments below on what you think is your favorite comic of the week, what your favorite or worst book of the week is. And guys, until the next comic book review, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon, everyone. Bye.